Hi everybody, it is April and today I need a quick project. My baby granddaughter Lily was born last Tuesday, not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday before. And I haven't made her a quilt yet. Now she's so little and tiny that I don't want to make something big. I want to make something small that they can use now. So I had an idea. I have this fabric with hearts on it. Super cute. It is from Walmart. Okay. So see, hearts, pink hearts, pretty little girl. And this is a really good size for a newborn. So I have this. I also have this gauzy fabric that was left over from another project. And I know Tracy loves this stuff. She says the more you wash it, the softer it gets. So here's my backing. Looks to be just about the right size. Let's do a little measuring. Oh, I'm doing a Pamela Anderson day, so I have on no makeup. All right, this is bigger. This is perfect. It's bigger than my fabric. Now I need some batting. I found some batting and some batting. We're going to do a little Franken batting. So here I have one piece of batting, long piece, and then it goes this far. Now let me put my front. It's just a matter as whether or not it will be long enough. And I think, I don't know. Maybe I can let's see, instead of this way, go this way. Maybe those two pieces together will be long enough. All right, so I definitely have enough going this way because I've got this here. And then when we open this up, it should cover the length. So I think we're good. Here we go. Here is the top of my quilt. The next is my batting. And now I need to put the backing underneath the batting. Now I don't know that the gauze has a front. This kind of looks like the back if there is a back. And you can see where my Franken batting is. Now this is not a large quilt. It's very small, which is the purpose. I wanted it to be small. So now I'm going to take my backing, and with any luck, the fabric is going to just automatically stick because batting is sticky. All right, so there I've got my backing. So this is the back side of the quilt. So my backing is significantly wider than my quilt. Okay, so now if I hold this up, I've got plenty of backing, plenty of batting, and of course the top looks good. Okay. So I do believe I'm going to leave the side over here alone. Now the other side, my batting extends out. So you can see that I joined the batting here, and then this piece of batting was wider than this piece of batting. So what I want to do is I want to line up this side. And I'm not going to worry about the selvage because I can trim that off when I'm done. All right, so I'm just going to roll this down and cut the excess with scissors. Not going to hurt a thing. All right. So here, and I'm not going to worry about the wrinkles either. All right, so I've got quite a bit over the edge on the other side. And really and truly, I'm going to scoot this over so that I take advantage of that extra area, because I don't want to run out on this side. And I'm pretty close to the edge on this side. So let's find a happy medium and we're good to go. So here we are at my machine, at my little Rebel. I am using a thread. It's finesse and it's called Cotton Candy. It is such a pretty color thread and it will match my quilt perfectly. When I'm quilting, I like to start in the center. I like to use gardening gloves because they're inexpensive and they are grippy. You can use quilting gloves or gardening gloves. It doesn't matter. All right. My foot is down. I want to make sure I can still move easily, and I can. Now I'm going to put my needle down and bring my needle up because I want to bring up my bobbin thread. I'll take the gloves off for that. Okay. I've got my bobbin thread up. Going to put my needle down. All right, so I want to pull this thread out and I want to cut it because I don't want that thread to get in my way. Okay. So what I am doing is I'm pressing my presser foot. Here you can see the button with the Q on it is lit. And then I have chosen, or actually the machine chose for me, my stitch length. So I'm looking here and my stitch length looks good. Now what I want to do is I want to get a little further in my quilting, and then I will look at the back to make sure that the back looks good as well. I want to have a plan. So I think I'm going to do a heart here. Do a heart here and maybe bounce back and then come out and make a bigger heart so that I can move outward. The last thing that I want to tell you about free motion quilting, and it doesn't matter what machine you're using, if you are free motion quilting on a domestic machine, give yourself some grace. Now, I've free motion quilted on a domestic machine for years. However, it's been a while because I've gotten my long arms, so I am way out of practice. And the thing about free motion quilting is you need to practice. And that's what I'm doing right now. You might think, oh my goodness, it looks awful. But it doesn't look awful. You're just being overly hard on yourself. And the person, or in my case, baby Lily, will not care whether or not my free motion quilting looks great. So I have found the sweet spot on my Grace machine. I do want to show you something. Be aware if your machine has a stitch regulator. Know where that stitch regulator is. Let me give you an example. So here, I'm going to make sure that my hand is near that stitch regulator so that there is some pressure and that stitch regulator can recognize that this fabric is moving and therefore it needs to move. Okay, so you heard it moving. You may not have been able to see it because my big hand was in the way, but you heard it moving. Now watch what happens when I don't have my hand near this stitch regulator, when there's no pressure on this fabric for that stitch regulator to recognize that it needs to move. Can you hear the difference in the sound? You can even see, so here you can see the stitches are longer. That is because there was nothing to tell it that these stitches needed to be closer together. Whereas here you can see the stitches are closer together. So just be very aware of where your stitch regulator is so that you can make sure you've got pressure on that spot. If your machine doesn't have a stitch regulator, then you are in control of how far apart or how close together your stitches are. Right now, I am working on the edge of my quilt, and I think I just found the best way to place my quilt so that I can work towards this end. So I'll be pushing my fabric that way towards the throat of the machine. This is going to give me the most control. Coming to the corner, and look. So after all of this, my actual fabric goes further than my backing, which is fine because I'm going to trim it anyway. And it's the selvage. So I'm going to keep going, and then I will show you how I'm going to make the binding. You'll probably hear some noise in the background. I am at a quilt retreat, but I am working on the binding for the quilt. I cut the binding at 2.5 inches, and now I am sewing the binding on with my Grace Little Rebel. So if you notice, I have monopoly thread so that you cannot see the stitching on this side of my quilt. You can see the indentation, but the thread is actually transparent. So let's see, it might not be. You may not even be able to see it on camera, but it is here, I promise. It really is. All right. So I start on the back. And I find that I just go a medium speed and it works well. I've sewn to where there's a quarter of an inch.
This card's really fast, like yesterday.
I fold it back and that. And that's how you do a corner. So here I am at the end. I have this pocket. I have trimmed this at the opposite angle that this is trimmed. And then that is how much I have left over. So I have finished my quilt at the retreat. I'm very excited. And here is the big reveal. So that's the front. And then that is the back. Funny story, I usually get Sherry or my mom to do the binding for me. And there's a lady here, Sue Smith, who wanted to see how my Grace Little Rebel worked. So she put the binding on for me. So I want to say thank you to Sue Smith for binding Lily's quilt. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Eat some chocolate and be kind to everyone. Bye.